David Clinton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, could I begin by acknowledging the comments made by our New Zealand First colleague. Many of the reservations she expressed about this bill we share. The fact that it's well-intentioned, potentially an effective, useful piece of legislation, but it will require a rapid implementation. We take a slightly more optimistic view, perhaps, that this government may be capable of quickly implementing the good intention of this plan. That optimism may be a triumph of hope over experience. Time will tell. We shall see. The challenge is on Mr. Bishop and his colleagues to prove us right in this instance, which I'm sure he'll enjoy doing. Sir, the notion of a unique identifier is a fundamentally good idea. Anything that facilitates the painless interaction between business and government is to be supported. In an ideal world, I think each business would have a single point of contact with an agency of government. Behind that agency would sit the multitude of other government agencies, ACC, MOBI, health and safety organisations, all the rest of it. I think that would be an ideal outcome. That would be something we can aspire to in time, I think. Particularly for SMEs, as we've heard, they are the backbone. Over 460,000 small medium enterprises in New Zealand who contribute something like 30% of GDP and are seldom praised or celebrated, and I thought they ought to be. So one of the implications of this unique identifier, if properly implemented, it would allow for the gathering of metadata about business trends, what business is doing and how it is achieving it. And that would be potentially a very useful body of knowledge, of information to inform further policy development. Alongside that, of course, comes privacy concerns, quite legitimate privacy concerns. This government, and dare I say it, previous governments, have not had a particularly good record in terms of protecting large databases, protecting people's privacy, be they individuals or businesses. But in this instance, we're aware that the Privacy Commissioner was involved in the debate and made some contribution to it. And I think the framework of this bill will allow for good privacy protection. Again, it's a matter of implementation, a matter of making sure that it is done well and done appropriately. We share the concern of the Labor colleagues, as expressed in the Minority Report and indeed by Rhea Bond recently, that it does seem that the government has got ahead of itself with this legislation. It's put in place, or is putting in place, the legislation before the necessary infrastructure, and nothing will undermine this legislation more quickly than if it simply becomes another number, another form of bureaucracy that businesses are burdened with. It is incumbent on this government to ensure that it does succeed, because it could and it ought to, and if it does, it will make a positive contribution to the business community, freeing them up to do what they do well, to be productive, to make a useful economic and social contribution. So it really lies in the hands of this government to actually make sure that it does work. The government talks a lot about a whole-of-government approach. It's talked about more than it's visible, than it's evident, I'd have to say. Integration within and between departments, within and between policies and practices is a worthy aspiration. I'm a great believer in an integrated approach to things more generally. Again, we haven't seen a great deal of evidence of it. What we have seen is the sort of mashing together of government agencies into these great unwieldy beasts, and I dare say many people will recognise MOBI in that description as it currently exists. Integration is a good thing. Simply randomly stuffing bits of government together is not. The initiative contained within this bill could contribute to proper integration and better relationships between business and the government. It could facilitate successful SMEs to do their job well and to do it better than they can now if they're not chewing up valuable time complying with government regulation. So it's up to this government indeed, sir, to prove that their reasonably well-grounded legislation can work, and I'll leave them with that challenge: surprise me and do it well. Kia ora.